we're back. I heard music that time. It's looking good. Now I just have to invite people to the stream. I don't know that they'll be able to find it without that. So one moment. Oop. Okay, so the real question is, how do I see this on YouTube? Let's look up. Technology is great until it doesn't work. Hey.
Hello.
I can hear you. Delightful.
Excellent.
I don't know. It's an old laptop, and sometimes it just decides that it's not going to work about certain things. So here we are. I'm just going to share this link around. Julie's already found it, so I don't need to send it to Julie. I'll put it in Discord.
Fantastic. Oh, yep, there's the chat. Well done, Julie. You get a special prize.
What's the special prize?
Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can produce a special prize.
Oh, very exciting. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Julie. Oh, that's very kind of you. I was just going there to do it myself. Share it again, and the other Discord where I've tried to include people. Right, here we are. Nice. Chocolate stash is important. Okay. Oh, that's the new puppy. They're beautiful. Beautiful. I love the idea of a puppy, but I think I'm a cat person when it comes to animals living with me. I don't think I could stand living with a dog.
Okay. That was the new puppy.
Beautiful.
He's really cute. He has obviously had a big day and is tired, and he will sit down, and then he will get up again and play, and then he will sit down.
Oh. Right.
Oh.
Right. Introduce yourself.
Oh, yes. Hello. I am Gillian St. Kevin. When I am not showing off puppies that don't belong to me, I write urban fantasy, gothic romance, and paranormals with an LGBTQ plus focus. Yeah. What I write makes no sense. Over to you, Jamie.
I think it does make sense. I am Jamie Sands. I write gay romance and urban fantasy, also with queer characters, and some things that don't make sense as well. I have had a pretty great day because Julie's kid, Fawn, started reading my new young adult novel with a non-binary main character and sent me fan art, not just of the main character, but also of me. And I don't think I've ever been so overjoyed.
Yeah, I love Fawn's style.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I had some happy feelings about that for sure.
Yep.
Then we went to a 3-year-old's birthday party.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That
Which,
does
it's
sound like
great.
an awesome day.
Children's party food is just the best. It's the
Yep.
absolute best.
Yep. So I did not go to a 3-year-old's birthday party today, but I did move back into Christchurch. So I've got a new setup with a light shining directly over.
Yeah.
No, I can't get rid of the light.
It's just your halo.
Yep. But yeah, so I think I was first published December 2015, possibly. Actually before then. You've been writing a long time too. We're both authors based in New Zealand, and I believe we both kind of hybrid published.
Yes. Yes, only recently hybrid published. So my I've got an urban fantasy series. Just the first one is out at the moment. That's set in Auckland with a lesbian cop and her non-binary partner, not romantic partner, but cop partner, detective partner. That the first one's out. The second one is with the publisher at the moment. It's just through a little indie press run by a friend of ours. So hopefully the second one will come out sometime soon. And I've had some short stories published in like magazines, but mostly I'm self-published.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we're chatting tonight, but we're also sort of taking questions.
Yes.
So anything you've wanted to ask an author, or if you want to just get an idea of how different authors approach things, this is a good time to ask. If you miss this live, you can leave comments below it and we can get to them in a future author chat.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just looked it up, and the first short story I had published in a book was in Baby Teeth in 2016.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, no, wait, 2013.
Wow. That's so next year will be your 10-year anniversary of being published.
Gosh,
I'm sorry, was that scary?
It was a little scary because I don't think I was taking things seriously at that point. It wasn't until it was sort of 2018. Oh, what is that? That doesn't look right. Let me just deal with that comment there. One moment.
That was very funny, yes.
I don't know what that's about, but
yeah, hopefully they've seen themselves out as promised, and we can get going with Julie's questions. I've lost Julie's questions. Oh, yay, a normal bod.
Wow. So that was like a real person spamming us rather than a bot, which is so oh, there's a bot. Okay. Wow. It's all happening.
Yep. Yeah, Julie, if you would like to moderate, that would be awesome. As I say, as if this was my channel.
Yeah. There you go. I'm happy to add Julie as a moderator.
Yep. As opposed to...
She didn't threaten me, so that's...
Yeah, if you want to be a moderator, be helpful.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Can you block users? Put user in timeout.
Yep, that's what I've been doing.
Okay, cool. All right, that's exciting. Julie, you should have the power now. Right, so I had a question for you, Gillian, and it is the worst question that anyone ever asks an author ever, and it is, where do you get your ideas?
That is that is the worst question. Second worst question. The first worst question is, could you give me feedback on this thing I've written?
Oh, that is the worst question. You're right. That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is different depending on all of my books. Thorns and Fangs came about because I had a vibe between characters that I wanted to explore. And so I kind of came up with characters to fit the dynamic that I wanted to write about. And then I came up with, I think Nate was first to kind of, the first character to really come into himself. And then I made Ben as a foil to him. And then the world kind of went outward from them. So for them, it was like the character dynamic. And that's interesting because that's probably the most romantic and kind of sexy and relationship-driven series. Deep Magic came about because I was taking part in the Don't Read in the Closet challenge on Goodreads, where people give prompts and then authors claim them. And a German guy who had had a holiday in Wales submitted a prompt based on that experience, where a guy returns to Wales after a long absence to track down the fairy tale prince he met in his childhood. And that is now a 4-book series, with the 5th one 3/4 written. And then my most successful series, the Gothic romance series, Read by Candlelight, sorry. I had a dream in which the first book kind of just appeared almost totally formed. At least I think it did, because I forgot the end of the dream when I actually came to write that. So I just went with the direction the story was going.
Yeah.
But so it's different with every vibe, with every story.
The vibe's different with every story.
But this is kind of about the first story. The sequels are really easy because when you write a story, characters suggest things, and then it's not a case of coming up with ideas. It's a case of squashing the ideas until you can finish the one that you're on now.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, you asked me. Your turn. How do you come up with your ideas?
So, sometimes it's dreams. I have very vivid dream life, and I will have all kinds of strange dreams, and some of them I am able to turn into short stories or to novels. Some of them are just moments that I can use. So my second pirate series came from a dream. I knew I was going to write another pirate gay harem series after the Cedric books, and that's all I knew. And I dreamed that there was this boy, and he'd been kidnapped by pirates, and he got rescued, and then he chose to jump back onto the pirate ship from like his father's like naval ship. And I was like, who would do that? What kind of character is that? And that's how my ridiculous boy. No, that is Cedric. Gideon was the first one. That's how Cedric came to be. Which isn't even a scene that I ended up using, but it was the idea of it. My Fairyland books I wrote because I wanted to write. That sort of came from my desire to get into the market. So I wanted to write gay fiction that was hallmarky and sweet, because there's a big market for that in straight fiction. But I knew I wanted to set it around something that I love, so I chose a theme park. And like you say, the first book was the hardest because I had to invent everything. But then every book since then has come about from side characters in the previous book demanding their own story. So the second book was really easy because I knew Charlie very well. He was the best friend of the protagonist in the first book. So that just followed on. And then I just used tropes for those. So that's really easy to plan around. I go, okay, this one is the Grumpy and Sunshine one. This is my take on the billionaire romance. This is my take on single dad stuff. So that was really easy and fun. And then I ended up pouring all my own emotional baggage into my characters because why wouldn't you, right? But yes, mostly dreams or cold, hard marketing decisions. Combination of.
Yep. No, that's really cool.
Yeah. The worst time though was when I was just talking to Julie about this on Messenger about Tamora Pierce books, because I once had a dream and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that's a fully formed novel. I know all the characters. I know how it happens. I know what's going to go on. And then I realized it was just completely stolen from a Tamora Pierce book. And I just changed the name slightly in my dream. And I was like, okay, well, I can't write that because it's already been written and I have read it. So that was a bit of a fail on my brain's part.
Brains aren't always helpful.
They're not.
So I had Discord with Julie's questions up.
Yeah.
So can you share a rough idea of your publishing timeline, schedule, e.g. drafting days, week edits, beta marketing, cover art, etc.? When things are getting done for each book, but assuming you have more than one book on the go, how do you switch between the projects? Do you wait until... Actually, that's kind of a separate question.
It is, so, yeah. That's a different question. So scheduling for me is not super set in stone. It usually takes me about a month to write a novel, half that time for a novella. So I can kind of get it. If I can concentrate on that just for that month or that time, I can get the book out. Once it's back from beta readers, so what I'll do is I'll draft it, I'll send it straight to my first reader, and she will send it back in a couple of weeks. She likes to have a deadline, so I try and give her a quick deadline. Once it's back from her and I've done edits, and sometimes I'll send it to Kitty as well, but Kitty's very, very fast. So she'll send it back in a couple of days. So that's fine. Once I've done those edits, I'll think about putting it up on pre-order, and I'll usually give myself sort of 3 weeks or so. I really don't do a big drawn out tale, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should, to build more enthusiasm and stuff around it. But generally, as soon as I started drafting, I will hit up my cover artist, whoever that is, get that done before I've got edits, because that can drag out and there's nothing you can do about it with a cover artist. Just have to wait. So, and then marketing starts as soon as I've got a pre-order up. But I will also be teasing it while I'm writing it, usually, especially with the Drake stuff. I will put sneak previews and stuff in my reader group because they're very responsive to that stuff. So I don't know if any of that's helpful, because it's all just...
Yep. When I was... So 2 years in a row, I published 7 books. And during that time, I was writing the first draft of the book in a month and editing it while writing the next book in the series, and publishing the first book and having the next book in the series as a pre-order ready to go. And that worked really well for a while, and then it didn't work anymore. So right now I am rediscovering what my timeline / schedule is, because I'm still discovering what my new schedule is with where I am right now. So that's completely unhelpful, but
so the only times I've put up a pre-order for the next book in the book before it is when I know it's already finished. I wouldn't do it if I was still drafting or not yet drafting, because things are just too unpredictable, and I don't you can put them ages out and then move them forward, but I prefer just to wait until I know when it's going to go and set it up then.
Yep. I've never had it come down to a crunch where I didn't have a book up on pre-order that wasn't ready to go. But there have been times where in the editing phase, I discovered something major that I had to fix. The Well-Dressed Werewolf is the best example of this, because I threw out my original ending and came up with a second ending, and both of my beta readers were like, this is way too complicated, I'm so lost. So I threw out the second ending, went back to the original ending, and I was still working on it like a day or two before the final file had to be uploaded for the pre-order. So that was a little bit stressful, but yeah.
There's a quick question in there. Did we both do fanfic?
Yes.
Yes. Although I would say that most of the fan stuff that I did before I started writing seriously was in character role playing on LiveJournal. And we've talked about that previously. We don't have to go back there. But that was definitely the bulk of what I was writing. I've only got a couple of fanfics published.
Yep, I have a ton. It's embarrassing.
It's fine. We're all doing it. It's most of what I'm reading now.
Yep.
And honestly, one of the best books I read last year was fan fiction.
Yep. Yeah. Fanfic it's very satisfying.
It is.
One, you've got that instant feedback, but two, you're writing about characters you love for people who already love them. So it's just good vibes all around.
It is. It is. Right. So what was the second part of that first question is how do you switch between projects, assuming you've got more than one book on the go? For me, I do it day by day. So usually I'll have one in drafting and one in edits. I will wait until, and the edits will be dependent. Like, I don't know. I can't plan for that because it depends on when they get back to me. So usually I would decide like how urgent it is to do those edits, keep drafting in the meantime, and then go, okay, no, on this day, I'm going to do the edits. So it's completely fresh day from when I was drafting, context switch to the edits, take as many days as that needs, and then send it to the next thing or whatever it needs to doing, and go back to the draft of the other thing. Yeah.
Yep. I kind of tend to work best when I just like binge task. So, yep. I try to do that as much as possible. So rather than be writing two different projects or writing one and editing one, I'll try to like write book one, write book two, edit book one, write book three, edit book two, write book four, like that. That was what I was doing for those 2 years that I published 7 books in each year.
Yeah, I get that. You keeping the flow of the drafting, and then switching back. That makes sense to me.
Yep. So I would like to get back into that pattern, but I've started doing more freelance editing for other people, and so those kind of creep into my schedule. So I might have to start timing it so that I, draft, do a project for someone else, edit, do a project for someone else.
Yeah.
I don't think I understand this question, Julie. Do you schedule in breaks / time out? Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you schedule in breaks? I should. I don't.
I do, because I was almost burning out when I first started writing full time, because I was just trying to write as much as possible all the time. So what I do, this is my month planner. I'll look back and go, okay, when did I last, like if I start to get tired, be okay, when did I last have a day off? So for example, today's the 30th. I last had a day off on the 17th. So I'm going to take tomorrow off because it's been 2 weeks. I probably need to. although I did have a lot of time off at the start of the month because that was summer holidays. But yeah, I have to really be careful of that, because otherwise I'll just kind of be thinking about work all the time and working all the time, and that's not good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having said that, in my weekly schedule, I do kind of allow myself like half a day or something where I'm not working, and that could be time to do errands or do stuff with the kids, or things that come up.
I learned it the hard way. I didn't entirely break down, but I was really, really, really close. And I noticed and was like, what's going on with you? And some other people noticed as well, and just kind of said, are you okay? If you seem really stressed. And I was like, ah. So I was very nearly there. It definitely burned myself out, but I didn't have a full scale breakdown. So that's how I learned.
Nothing makes you less stressed than someone saying you seem stressed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just like, if you're having a panic attack and someone says, just calm down, it's really helpful. But I was seeing a therapist at the time, which also helped. I was just like, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, well, she's like, try doing a to-do list. And then the next time I saw her, I'm like, well, I tried doing a to-do list, and then the to-do list was freaking me out. And she's like, how long is your to-do list? And I'm like, well, it's 20 items long for a day. And she's like, let's talk about prioritizing those tasks. And so I've learned that way. And it is something that I still have to kind of remind myself about, because it's really easy to kind of just go, oh no, I'm all right, I'll just keep going on. I'm not that tired, I'll just do another hour. Or whatever. So
yeah, my health didn't make me slow down so much as like come to a complete stop, but I am actually a little bit nervous about getting sick, because I have a lot of things I want to do this quarter, and sick time would not help with those.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was also in 2020, at the end of the year, we lost our dog and my grandma, and I think that was actually had a bigger impact on my writing schedule than my health.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a big change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big loss. Yeah.
So let's see, marketing. Do you use any paid marketing services or places that manage ARC readers' reviews, and why, if have changed? If you do or don't, why the change? Okay.
This is how I feel about paid marketing.
I would like to use it one day, but I think it's really important, because I don't have a big budget. It's really important that my website is primed and ready to have eyes on it.
Yeah.
It's working beautifully and perfectly. That my newsletter welcome sequence is converting people who sign up. And yeah, I want to have all of the machinery in perfect condition before I pay, because otherwise, if it's not ready, then I'm not going to get as much value from my investment in marketing.
That's fair.
Yep. So currently, my marketing is organic. When I'm in KDP, which puts me in front of a lot of new readers. Amazon kind of gives you a bit of a bigger boost if you're in KDP. This is only for my Gothic romances, actually. But although they're not going to be in KDP forever, right now they're getting that extra. Yep. Oh gosh, yes, KU. They're getting that little extra boost and visibility, and in the back of each book, I've got a link to the next book in the series, and I also recommend another book by an author that I think has a similar vibe, and invite people to sign up for my newsletter. So that is all the marketing I'm doing. I'm modeling being a good part of our community, supporting other authors.
Mhm.
I am linking people to the next book. If there isn't a next book, I recommend a similar series of mine. And I also have the Gillian St. Kevin Sampler, which has the first book and 4 of my series in one bundle for free on my website. So people can thoroughly test drive my work before they spend their money on it.
I am signed up to Queer Romance Inc., but I have been slack. So I did it right before Christmas, and everything kind of got away from me. I haven't put all my books up there yet. I think I've just got 3 or 4, because it is sort of like a process to upload your books and stuff. So I just put it off over Christmas. It is on my to-do list for fixing it up. I can't say that I've noticed a huge difference from it, but I like the people who run it. So, I did try doing Facebook advertising and Amazon ads for a while, but it just didn't seem to do anything at all.
Yeah.
My biggest, I'd say, best investments have been on like newsletter swap groups. So every now and then someone will do like a promotion or something, and you can sign up and pay like $10 or $20. And everyone shares each other's books, or you put up a bunch of books for free, and a whole lot of people go and pick them up, and that's how I've got a quite good newsletter size.
Yeah.
So, that's what I use as my newsletter. And like Gillian, anytime I put out a newsletter, I will include at least 2 books by other people who are similar or to the theme of the newsletter or whatever, just to help boost things, because it's hard. It's hard to get people across new authors. People aren't, willing to kind of go out on a limb a lot. And so it's good to have referrals or word of mouth.
So
Yeah.
in one of my books, it had like a very Christian-y character and battling with a literal demon. Demon was not the love interest, by the way. And
No.
so when it came to like recommending the book that I was going to recommend readers to, I was like, I have a total brain fart. The only thing I can think of is Good Omens. So I was like, okay, if you haven't already, you need to read Good Omens. This is the link. It is awesome. And it's a TV series that is also awesome. And then 2 days later, someone on the Rec grid on Facebook was like, I don't remember who recommended Good Omens to me, but thank you. I love you. I need more like this. And I was just like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
It might not have been, but in my head, it was totally me.
Oh, I think so. I think that's a fair connection to make.
Yep.
Right. I hope that answered. When I actually do have it in my head that I want to pay someone to do it for me, to pay like a marketing expert or an author PA or something, just maybe for a month and try it out, because I know I'm not the best at that stuff, and my time is better spent writing. But at the same time, I would like my books to be more visible. So,
yep. Okay, so we're both hybrid. Julie would love to know the pros and cons of our experiences with releasing both trad and self-published books. So, my experience was my first 2 books were published as part of the Don't Read in the Closet event run by the MM Romance Book Club on Goodreads. And so, this is readers were suggesting ideas, authors would claim them, and then there was a big team of volunteers who would beta read and edit for us, out of the goodness of their hearts, because they were excited about having new books to read. And then these books were released for free, on the MM Romance group. And so that was kind of like being trad published light, because you were working with a team. You had a lot of support. And I was actually really lucky in that one of the moderators of the group, a lovely woman called Raven, volunteered to edit, both of my projects because they were longer, and I actually ended up writing 3 books because I was a pinch hitter. Someone dropped out and I wrote the bigger scoop.
Right.
So and it turns out Raven is actually an editor. And then a year later, she contacted me and say, "Hey, I remember you were working on a vampire book. If it's ready, would you like to submit it to 9-Star? I've just started working there as an editor." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do that."
Oh, yeah.
And Raven became my editor for real. So since I'd already had the experience through Don't Write in the Closet, it wasn't a really big leap to go from that to working with Raven. We already had the kind of trust there. We both knew we were on a similar vibe. And it seemed like a really natural fit, and I really liked 9-Star. So much so that I went to their submissions, checked it out, so they were looking for seasonal stories, and I wrote The Ugliest Sweater for them. And so and then I think 2 books, maybe 3 books in, Raven was like, "I've become the owner of 9-Star, so I'm having a bit of trouble, like, editing and running a business. So I'm going to hand you over to Barb. Barb's style is very similar to mine. She's already read your work and loves it." Barb was my copy editor on Thorns and Fangs. So I went from working with Raven to working with Barb. And it was kind of, it was good because it felt very, very natural. And one of my reasons for wanting to be trad published was just to get that experience of working with editors and kind of get a feel for what the process was like when it was done by professionals before I DIY'd it myself. But eventually a story came along. I think it was my Deep Magic series. I didn't think that it was a good idea to take it to a trad publisher because it came out of Don't Read in the Closet. And because Achim, who is the German guy who suggested the idea, it was his idea. And I was like, if it blew up into a big deal and he went after the rights, I don't know what that would look like. And I don't want to put... Achim would never do that. He's a sweet guy, super awesome. But I was like, it's a really weird area, and I don't think it's fair to put that on a publisher. But also, these characters are really important to me, really personal in a way, and I want to have complete control over their story.
Yeah.
It was mainly Derwent. I really wanted to write Derwent as he was, and I did. It's just the idea of anyone telling me how to write Derwent. He's not even in this first Deep Magic book that I self-published.
Yeah.
But it was weird, but that was what happened. And so there are some books, like I love self-publishing. I love the control. I like to be able to see my sales immediately, and just having full creative control is actually very empowering. It is a lot of work. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want the effort. But trad publishing is no less hard work. So you don't get to pass on the responsibility because you've got somebody else editing your work. You've still got to make all the choices and do the work.
Yes.
I've actually got a book, a high fantasy, coming out with 9-Star probably in this month. No, probably next month. We don't have much of this month left. And this is my first high fantasy, and I have no experience marketing high fantasy. My audience, I don't know how many high fantasy readers there are in my audience. 9-Star has previously published a fantasy, and I think they will know how to market this book better than me. And I also really wanted Barb's opinion on this one. And the cover, Natasha Snow really kicked it out of the park. The cover is exactly what I wanted. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. Hopefully that makes sense for you, Julie.
I'd say my experience is pretty similar. No, that's not similar. My experience is not similar, but my opinion is quite similar. Trad publishing, sometimes it's nice to just be able to go, you can make the decision on the cover and you're responsible for the marketing. But in reality, you still need to do quite a lot. You still need to market yourself, of course, and having the cover out of your control isn't always great. But I mean, I don't know, because the books that I gave Ada for publishing through Rookery are, I kind of wasn't doing anything with them. Like, I'd written them, I knew they needed work, and then I just set them aside and didn't do anything with them. So having her pick them up and move them along was really helpful to me, because otherwise I probably would have just left them in Google Docs. Because I do have manuscripts left in Google Docs that I'm not doing anything with. And every now and then I feel guilty about it, and I'm like, I need to go back and give them a bunch of edits and improve them. But I'm not motivated to do that. So yeah, I do prefer indie publishing, but sometimes I'm kind of like, am I missing out on something by not like trying to get a big publisher or trying to get a literary agent or like win awards or something? Like, is that something I should be trying to do? And I don't know that I do. But indie published books never win the big awards, right? You don't get to go, look, I'm a blah, winner or whatever. I don't know. I can't even think of an example now, but a Nebula or something.
Yep.
That only goes to published trad published books. Trans published books we've got covered.
Yep. So that actually kind of lines up nicely with Julie's next question, which is long-term goals. What are your dreams as an author? Where do you want to go this year and long-term with your author business? So I've got 2 long-term goals. Kind of my most basic goal is to be earning a full-time income purely from royalties, so that I can live in my tiny house with my rescue greyhound called Agatha Troy, Troy for short, and she is lovely. So yeah, so but I don't know if this is totally crazy. I would love to have a house in Christchurch that has been refurbished so that there is a really big open lounge that is like a shared communal writing space. There's a kitchen area where you can make coffee or store your lunch, but there's also a cafe on site. And then there are meeting rooms that you can book or record or, host YouTube or stream from. And then there's also a library/bookstore that sells queer New Zealand books, like all queer books, but primarily New Zealand queer authors. So it's kind of like a community space, but it's also like a queer bookstore, and it's like it's for writers, but it's also for activists and community groups. And no, I wouldn't live there. But they would have to make me leave. I would commute there on my bike with my rescue greyhound.
That's lovely. That's a lovely dream.
Yeah, kind of like a hot desking business that focuses on creatives, but
like one of those shared office spaces that you can rent out time in.
Yeah, but we'd also have writing classes there and literacy classes and all sorts of things.
Wonderful. I love that. I don't have anything that cool. I just want to make a living from writing. I used to dream about going on book tours, on being the kind of author, obviously traditional published, who gets flown around the world, and you get to talk and read to legions of adoring fans. But because I've chosen the indie publishing route, that's not really a thing. And also COVID. So, some part of me, I think, is still like, book tour, like through America, through Europe. Wow. But I think it's something that you can't really make happen unless I pay for it myself, which maybe someday, post COVID and post doing some books going viral or something. I mean, I'd love to have some books go viral. Wow, what talk about a dream. But again, that's not something you can really control.
What's interesting is that my definition of success is more about me sort of earning enough money that I feel confident about the future, and but also that I am, writing books that I'm proud of that align with my values. And it's more, for me, it's more about like creative satisfaction and quality of life and work than about external recognition. And if I did write a bestseller, I would be terrified, because I know that along with that kind of success comes so much increased visibility and scrutiny. And I'm just like,
not interested.
I don't know if I could handle that pressure, honestly. It scares me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. I'm the same, to be honest. And as you were talking, I kind of thought, actually what I want and what has happened even today is to write books that get through to people and make them feel seen and understood. So I had a very good example of that today. But it's happened before. The first time I went to Zine Fest here in Auckland, I'd written a little a zine called Dress, which was about my relationship with my clothing and how I've evolved past wanting to dress.
You gave me a copy of it
yes.
at the WNZ conference.
That's right, I did. And someone messaged me, I think, a day later through Facebook, and they said, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but are you the person who wrote this scene? Because I've never felt more understood in my life since I read it." And I was just like, it's the greatest. It's the greatest review, right? It's knowing that you've reached out, like been vulnerable with something of yourself and reached someone and made them feel less alone. That's actually my writing dream, is to keep writing books like that. So if I see reviews or something where people are like, "Oh, I love this thing," or "I really related to that," that's where I'm happy. Ideally, if I could make money doing that as well, that'd be fantastic. Or more money. I am making money, but enough to live on comfortably. Would be nice. Yeah. Oh, it was a nice memory.
I've been on actually the receiving end of that. There was this person who put out this, who drew a comic of their coming out experience. And it was very similar to mine at high school and university. They were, all of their friends were queer. They were really comfortable with the queer community. But they were like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not gay. I'm just a good friend." And they were like late 30s, mid 30s, and then they were like, "Hang on,
wait a second."
And I was like, "Oh, right."
Oh, amazing. And you got in touch with them?
It was really funny. I emailed them. This comic had gone viral while they were traveling. So I think they got hundreds of emails when they got to their destination, like 2 days later. So it was like a week later before I heard back from them. And I had forgotten what their name was. So I was like, what on earth is this? And then I realized.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the next question, Jamie, how can I get my hands on some of your signed paperbacks?
We sorted that out in the chat. You can just
perfect. So viewers who are not Julie, message.
Yeah, we've sorted that out now. I wanted to recommend this book to you, Gillian, based on what you've just told me. It's by Noelle Stevenson, who wrote Nimona and also the new She-Ra comics cartoon. And it's about their growing up, coming out, and also becoming famous for their comics, and it's fantastic. She uses all pronouns, so I'm trying to get a cover of them. Is writing another one at the moment, which I'm subscribed to the newsletter to get early. So and it's about them transitioning.
Yeah,
which is great. So yes, Nimona is also great, but yeah, Noelle Stevenson, fantastic creator.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, I actually feel quite tired.
It's been a really hot and long day for me, so I am also getting there.
Yep.
More about marketing is the next question. Oof. So I did run a Patreon for a while. I liked doing it, but it was really, really hard to get new people to join it. I think the only people I ever had on my Patreon were friends who were like, yes, I will give you some money, which is nice, but it wasn't a growth thing at all. And as people's circumstances changed, they had to leave, and then it just didn't become worth doing. I keep thinking maybe I should try it again under one of my pen names and share works in progress, which I think is what you do on Patreon, Gillian.
No, I do. So I use Patreon to get around KU.
That's right, yeah.
Restrictions for my readers who despise Amazon.
Yes, that's fair.
So my Patreons get my new releases a week before they go onto Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you is that a static audience? Have you been able to grow it, or is it just kind of?
I get a new person maybe once every 6 months.
Right.
But this is so like I will have like very sort of slow sales, and then one day I will get a huge spike, and this is somebody stumbling onto Read by Candlelight and just going through the entire series.
Yeah.
And then probably after that, I will get a new patron. Like,
oh, that's pretty cute.
It's pretty cute. But so my marketing goals are not around social media schedules and newsletters and Patreon. It is about kind of figuring out how I can kind of grow organically, because my stuff is weird enough that Amazon ads will probably never be that effective for me because I write very niche stuff. And Amazon ads work best if you are hitting the tropes and the big genres. Like if you are writing gothic romance, that's not always a romance, and vampire human romance, where the vampire loses his vampireness and the human becomes something else. It doesn't.
Not exactly hitting the trope.
The Amazon algorithm is really good. It is not that good.
Yeah.
Until the Amazon algorithm gets there, the best way for me to grow my audience is finding the weirdos who like me, and the people who know who those people are my readers.
Yeah.
So it's by doing also boughts on Amazon, because people who like me will like other authors, will find the similar authors themselves.
Yeah.
So if I do Amazon ads, I will target the authors that appear in my also boughts.
Yeah.
But I can also find similar authors authors I enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think we have a similar vibe.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah. Hey, I call myself a weirdo. I called Joy Kelly a weirdo yesterday. I think it's a compliment.
I think so. Who wants to be normal?
Yeah.
Yes. I just sort of try and keep up with social media as much as possible. I really do need to make myself a better plan. But it's the kind of thing that will slip right out of my head because I'm focusing on too many other things at the same time. So I don't have any good advice really for that.
Yeah.
Trying to run 3 different Instagrams is not a good idea, and I don't recommend it.
No.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say. I like doing newsletters. I will do a newsletter once a month, maybe more often if there's something to share. But I don't believe in sending a newsletter unless it's to be like, here's a new pre-order, here's a new book, or here's a cool sale. I won't send one that doesn't have something in it for the readers. I know a friend of mine is running a pretty successful newsletter where she's writing a serial and releasing the newsletter with all the information and then a chapter of the serial, which is pretty cool, but that's a lot of work, and and you got to prioritize, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My newsletters are more chatty and they're behind the scenes, and if it's been a while between releases, I will reach out and let readers know what's going on in my life. I also the best thing that happened to me was I sent out a newsletter mentioning I think that Tui, our dog, had died, and I got sent a picture of somebody's dog, and that was just so lovely. Yeah.
That's really cool.
And since then,
replies to my emails. I don't know what that's about.
I very rarely get a reply, but the replies I do get sometimes involve photos of people's dogs, and I think
that's
that is like,
good.
Yep.
Good.
I also don't know how many people have noticed this, but every book in the Read by Candlelight series is dedicated to the pets of the house I was sitting in when I wrote it.
That's really cute.
Yeah. So every time I do a new release, I do a little showcase of those pets. So I'm sort of also building a community of people who like cats and dogs.
Yeah. I like doing little extra things like that. All of my Fairyland books have recipes at the end of them. And no one's ever mentioned it to me except one of my friends who was like, yay, recipes. No one else has ever said anything about them. I don't know if anyone's ever tried them. They're all ones that I have made and enjoyed, although some of them are better than others. So the first book in the Fairyland series is Dash and Nate. Dash is very, very health conscious. He's very conscious of his body, and he's very, very serious. So the meal that he makes in the book for his best friend is one of the ones that's in the recipes at the end, and it's very plain, like chicken breast with not much seasoning, and some like wilted greens, because he's like, health. This is what we're eating. It's going to be that's all it is. And I'm like, oh god, that's such a boring recipe. Oh my god! So I had to put something else in that was more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's ever said anything to me about it. I don't know. It makes me laugh.
Yeah. In Uprooted, Life After Humanity, Nate breaks into Ben's apartment to cook him dinner. And the recipe he uses is one that I used to make all the time. And I had fun with that. Yes, you and Paul have to do some cooking.
I think I did put at the end of the Dash's relatively bland chicken recipe. Sit down, enjoy it with a glass of wine, and definitely don't think about your feelings. Something along those lines, because that's where he was coming from at that point.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the later books, there's one that isn't actually made in the book because it's someone wanted to cook for someone else, but there wasn't time. So I'm like, well, if he had got to, this is what he would have made.
Aww. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, good. They're fun books. I should write another one. There's too many books to write. This is what my problem
Yeah.
is.
What are we doing standing around chatting when there are books to write?
So this is my backlog, my book backlog for the year. There's only got a few things in it because I've been very, very strict with myself because I put too many things in last year and I didn't get through them all. Now I'm going to have to add another young adult witchy fiction book to this because I don't want to disappoint Fawn having just a single book. Anyway, it's fine.
Yep.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yep. One day, if I have all the time in the world, I will write a middle grade series about an adventurous team of endangered animals who can transform themselves and work to save the planet from humans. And this will be marketed directly at my niece and published under the pseudonym Lulu Unicorn. So look out for that.
I love that.
In the distant future.
So my dream book, which I'm never going to get around to, although I have every now and then I will dip in and write a couple of paragraphs in, is about the devil having given up on hell, just traveling around the world, specifically traveling New Zealand, and understanding how to love humanity. That's it. That's the whole premise. And I love this idea, and I don't think it's marketable at all. But I
have got he's not the actually I've got two demon based story ideas. I've got the demon librarian story that I pitched at the 2019 RWNZ conference. And I also have so there's this guy and he's got an ex, and his ex is terrible. He's like selfish, he's an asshole, he sucks, he's a user, but he is really hot, and the sex is amazing.
Sure.
So he cannot quite get rid of the ex, but the ex calls him up and he's like, I'm getting together with a couple of guys at this like house out of town, do you want to come? And he's like, it would be a really terrible idea, and like, no. And the ex is like, I'll pick you up at 8. And he's like and he goes, and while he is out of the room, he overhears that X and his friends have actually they've set up this satanic ritual, and he is going to be used to summon a demon. But because he's heard this conversation, when they go out to get more alcohol, he smudges stuff.
Yeah.
And when the ritual takes place, X gets possessed by the demon.
Yeah.
And is now bound to the main character.
Nice.
Demon smites X's friends and then is like, come on, take me to, I have just left hell, take me to your finest dining establishment.
Yeah.
I need to, gather my forces. We are going to devastate the world. And so he takes him to McDonald's because he's broke. And he's just like, what do I do here? But, the demon treats him better than his ex does. There's that. And then Demon does some summoning of his own, and his angel buddy arrives, and the angel's like, oh my God, this is awesome. I know the best place. We're going to get out of our minds. These guys, humans, have figured out how to get party like nothing else.
Yeah.
And main character's is like, hang on, you're an angel. Shouldn't you be trying to stop him? And the angel's like, it's cool. God forgives everything. Let's go. And that's as far as I've got.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. So what I'm hearing is that we need to make a new pen name that only writes about demons and the devil and angels, and release both of these books under that name.
Yeah.
So I wrote a role-playing game many years ago called The Silver Kiss of the Magical Twilight of the Full Moon, which is, in case you can't tell, a parody of books like Twilight and The Silver Kiss and so on. And the idea of the game, it's just a one-off. You need 4 people. 2 people are the humans, 2 people are the supernatural beings. And 1 human and 1 supernatural being are going to fall in love, and the other 2 are their best friends who may or may not approve of it. And I've run it many a time. It's a fantastically fun and silly game with various kinds of supernatural creatures. We've had vampires, werewolves, we've had Aztec gods, we've had Greek gods, we've had... No, we didn't actually go there with Daleks. We considered it, but we did not do it. Dalek romance was a step too far. The one time I got to play it where someone ran it for me, me and my friend Paul were the supernatural beings, and we were angels. And we decided we were both boy angels, and he was falling in love with a human girl. And we decided partway through the game that one of the ways that we worshipped God was by making out with each other, because as angels, you're heavenly beings, right? And so it's a form of worship. And so after that moment, I was like, well, my character's obviously desperately in love with this character and doesn't want him to be with the girl. And when we'd first started the game, Paul said, I don't want to just be any angels, like, let's be something important. And so we were actually the angels that could become the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Wow.
So I was pestilence and he was famine, I believe. But we hadn't activated anything. Over the course of the game, he gave up his angelhood to try and be with the girl, and dropped his flaming sword, and the best friend picked up the flaming sword. And because she wasn't pure, she became like a creature of evil. And I smote her because I was like, she's evil, I've got to do it. And then he took back his angelhood, and we decided that we were just going to run off and start the apocalypse and be together and fuck humans, basically, because his girlfriend didn't like it that I'd just killed her best friend, obviously. So yeah, it was a fantastic romance, which ended with the end of the world.
That is very funny.
Yep, it was a fantastic game.
Yep.
Oh dear.
Yep. Now that we're at the sharing ideas for books portion of the live stream, we should probably say goodnight, unless there is, unless Julie has any other questions for us, and get to work jotting some of these ideas down.
I agree. And a new pen name for us to release this sacrilegious romance thing we've got going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like Julie has worn herself out with all the questions.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Done absolutely fair. Our brains, I would say, are very much done as well.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. You can ask anytime. We will be doing more of these.
Yeah. We should also do like another reading or craft sprint, because those were quite fun too.
Yep. And someday, not today, not this week, probably not this month, I would like to do a challenge and like do a full day one of these.
Oh, wow. I do like the idea. I do. But I'm also logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Okay, we'll
aim for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe. And do it like a fundraising thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
And we could line up other authors to, like Julie says, line up guests.
When is Camp Nano?
Camp Nano happens in April, I believe, and possibly also June or July. Maybe
April and
July.
April and July. Because that would be a good time to run something like that. There'd be lots of people around, but also it probably gives us enough time to kind of plan it as well.
Yep.
Let's work this out.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank
Okay.
you so much for joining us, Julie.
And thank you for knowing some municipal liaisons that can help us.
Yes, you too. And thank you for all the questions. My goodness.
Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gillian, as well. This has been a lot of fun. And I'm
It
glad we
always
didn't
is.
completely humiliate ourselves this time.
Yeah, at least if we ignore the opinion of Mr. Alpha Male or whatever he was.
Sigma male he was. He wasn't even an alpha. He was a sigma. I don't even know what that means. I don't want to know what that means. Anyway. All business stuff rather than craft. Oh, that's true. It was mostly craft. Except for the terrible where do you get your ideas question right at the start.
We
But
have
that's
to
fine.
get it out of the way.
You do.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks all, and I will see you next week. Hopefully before, if I can manage an evening sprint this week.
Yep.
And we'll see you later.
Sounds great. See you then. Bye.
Bye.